It is Saturday, April 19th, and there are protests going across this entire country and every city in honor of the 250-year anniversary of the American Revolution. And that is basically due to the behavior of Donald Trump and his directives and his orders and his clear idea to want to be the bunny king or just the king in general. And in this breaking story, you're going to find out, he actually stepped in it now and actually tugged on the wrong Superman cape. And I'm going to show you that in just a few seconds. But when it comes to Harvard and when it comes to what Trump is trying to do, take a quick listen to what he just said and the way he characterized Harvard University just now, before this breaking story, which just happened just now. Take a quick listen.
Because I think Harvard's a disgrace. I think what they did was a disgrace. They're obviously anti-Semitic, and all of a sudden they're starting to behave. But when you see what they were saying, what they were doing, when you see the way they took care of events, when you watch that woman, that horrendous president that ruined the image of Harvard, maybe permanently, in Congress, in the halls of Congress, when you take a look at what happened there, it was horrific. And, I've looked at a lot having to do with it. I'm not involved in it. It's being handled by lawyers. I read about it just like you did. But tax-exempt status, it's a privilege. It's really a privilege. And it's been abused by a lot more than Harvard, too. By a lot more than Harvard. So we'll see how that all works out. I don't think they've made a final ruling. I don't believe they've made a final ruling, but it's something that these schools really have to be very, very careful with. Very anti-Semitic when you take a look, whether it's Columbia, Harvard, Princeton. I don't know what's going on, but when you see how badly they've acted, and in other ways also, so we'll be looking at it very strongly.
Now that sounds to me like someone who's pretty strong, pretty confident, and pretty clear on exactly what they're thinking and exactly what they're saying. I don't like what Donald Trump says 98.5% of the time, but that doesn't sound like someone who's confused in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And the letter that got sent to Harvard was so severe, so anti-democratic, so anti-free speech, so anti-American, that on this day of the 250-year anniversary of the American Revolution, what happened? Well, when Harvard gathered up some lawyers and gathered up several other universities that backed them, all of a sudden in this breaking story, whoopsie poop, that wasn't what had happened. Was here is the breaking story of the once again Trump administration going too far, trying to walk something back from their hubris and calling it a mistake. Take a look.
White House ignited Harvard war by mistake, but blames Harvard. The Trump administration's war with Harvard University is apparently all one big whoops. A senior Trump official told Harvard University that the letter it received last week containing a list of demands was sent in error, the New York Times reports. The letter included a series of demands regarding the school's hiring policies, admissions, and curriculum. Demands so extreme that Harvard officials felt they had little choice but to refuse. Now, White House officials are claiming that the letter, which they say was sent by the acting general counsel of the Department of Health and Human Services, Sean Keaveney, was sent in error. While its content was authentic, some insiders believe it was sent prematurely, while others thought it had been intended for internal use only. The letter directed Harvard to implement reforms to governance and leadership, as well as its hiring and admissions processes, if the school wanted to continue receiving federal funding. It demanded that Harvard implement merit-based policies and cease all preferences based on race, color, national origin, or proxies thereof, as well as prevent the admittance of international students hostile to American values and discontinue all DEI programs. Many of the demands laid out in the letter related to the anti-Semitism that the Trump administration alleges exists on many university campuses, including Harvard. One such demand was the reforming or removal of programs with egregious records of anti-Semitism, including programs in the Divinity School, the School of Public Health, and the Graduate School of Education. Prior to the arrival of the letter, Harvard and the Trump administration's anti-Semitism task force had been engaged in discussions designed to avoid a confrontation. The demands made in the letter were so extreme that Harvard concluded a deal was no longer possible, leading the university to publicly refuse to accept and Trump to freeze billions of dollars of its federal funding. Soon after Harvard announced its decision to reject the administration's terms, Josh Gruenbaum, an official at the General Services Administration, called one of the university's lawyers. While he initially said that neither he nor Thomas Wheeler, acting general counsel for the Department of Education, had authorized the letter, he later said the letter was authorized but had been sent prematurely. Gruenbaum also contacted a lawyer for Columbia University, which eventually followed Harvard's lead in refusing to comply with the Trump administration's demands after initially caving to some, to let them know the letter to Harvard had been unauthorized. White House senior policy strategist May Mailman said that Harvard's response was excessive, telling the New York Times, "It was malpractice on the side of Harvard's lawyers not to pick up the phone and call the members of the anti-Semitism task force who they had been talking to for weeks." She added, "Instead, Harvard went on a victimhood campaign." For its part, Harvard responded that there were no signs the letter was anything less than legitimate and admin-approved. University officials explained in a statement released on Friday that the letter was signed by 3 federal officials, placed on official letterhead, was sent from the email inbox of a senior federal official, and was sent on April 11th as promised. The statement continued, "Recipients of such correspondence from the U.S. government, even when it contains sweeping demands that are astonishing in their overreach, do not question its authenticity or seriousness." It remains unclear to us exactly what, among the government's recent words and deeds, were mistakes or what the government actually meant to do and say, the statement continued. Harvard concluded that, even if the letter was a mistake, the actions the government took this week have real-life consequences on not only Harvard students and employees, but also on the standing of American higher education in the world. Despite now saying that the letter was sent in error, whether that means because it was sent at all, or even if it was simply sent prematurely, the Trump administration has not withdrawn its demands or reversed its decision to freeze $2.2 billion in grants to the school. Nor has the president backed off his threats to revoke the school's tax-exempt status.
The reality is, it wasn't a mistake. He just got his bluff called. And most of his beliefs, most of his actions are not bluffs in his mind until he gets actually his hat handed to him and punched in the freaking nose. And the reality is, there is going to be a whole much more of this coming. We cannot stop every single time he pushes the envelope too far to try and be a king. We have to take the crown and actually destroy it. So you guys have a good holiday weekend, if applicable to you. Otherwise, just have a good weekend. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to those you don't agree with as well. But always, especially when it comes to stuff like this, make sure you read through it, make sure you understand it, stay frosty.